4th, 2002. What do you do?
I didn't know how to say your name.
Oh, nobody knows. It's consistent. So May 4th, 2002, I kicked my husband out of my house, and it was a very good thing to do. So the first person I called was my sister. And my sister is Amy, and Amy's 5 years younger than I am, and she's funny as shit and smart. And so I would call her, and I would call her at 2 in the morning, and I would call her at 3 in the morning. And the thing was, is that time, my sister had met her cowboy. And she had he had this cowboy hat, and the rodeo belt buckle, and this big old chain around his neck with his gold cross. And he would leave her love notes. And Amy hadn't had enough love notes. And he would cook by her Weight Watcher rules, and at night they would snuggle and watch movies together. So she bought this big screen TV and these big ass speakers, and then the speaker wire just kind of snaked across my sister's really sloppy. So you'd have to step over the speaker wire to come into the house. And they would set the alarm for 30 minutes early every morning so that they could snuggle before my sister went to work. I know, it was great. And when she told me that, I was like, wait, when you go to work, does he go to work? And she said, well, he has priors, but nothing bad. There was the time that he went to test drive a pickup truck and he forgot to bring it back. And there were a couple of times where he wrote checks on other people's accounts or on his account with no money. But in total, he had had 3 opportunities to be a guest of the state. And as my sister said, it's really hard to get a job if you've got, if you're an ex-con. And so she bought him a pickup truck, a big old dually, and a utility trailer, and ladders, and paint, everything to set him up in a house painting business. And so he would go paint houses, and she would go to her job, and at night he would cook by her Weight Watchers rules. And she was just really, really happy. And it was a fabulous thing. And we talked every single day. It was movies or politics or my kids or my divorce or whatever. And then on the 4th of July, she and I were talking, and she had just planted flowers in her new house. And she was baking bread, and I go, so you guys gonna go see fireworks? And she goes, we're gonna make our own fireworks. And I was like, that's awesome. And I laughed, and I said, I love you. And she said, I love you too. And we got off the phone. And 4 days later, I got a call from my big sister. And she said, have you heard from Amy? And I said, no, why? What's up? And she said, I got a call from her boss. Amy hasn't been to work in 3 days. And I said, that bastard killed her. And my sister said, I know, but we can't think that yet. And the reason we couldn't think it was because it wasn't true, right? Right? Amy had got in her car. She had gotten in her car and she had gotten away, and she was driving to us. And so we called each other. We called my sister and my brother and my mother and our cousins and everybody. We called everybody, and we were like, okay, she's gonna be here any minute. And then it was kind of late and she wasn't here yet. And so then we were thinking, okay, so she's been in a car accident, and maybe she's got amnesia or a coma, and maybe, we'll find her and she'll be okay because we'll fix her. And then we found her car. And then we found a note taped to the inside of her desk drawer at work, and it was addressed to the county sheriff's department, and it said, if I am missing or dead, pick up Ron Ball. And it listed the debts, and it listed the arguments, and it said, I hope someday to find this and laugh because I was so wrong. But if not, don't let him get away with it. Search dogs went out, helicopters went up. We all ran to the city she lived in. The cyclops eye of the TV cameras followed us everywhere. My mother would stand in front of these banks of microphones and say, please help me find my baby. Eventually I had to go home. I had a 3-year-old and a job, and I had to leave. And so I went back home, and I tried to live not knowing. It was a Monday when my mother called, and she said, they found Amy. And I knew that they hadn't found Amy. They hadn't found my sister with these stupid jokes and the big, glorious laugh. What they had found was a body wrapped in a painter's tarp, tied with speaker wire, and buried at a construction site. All of us flew back to where she lived. All of us held each other and cried. And I remember the moment when our favorite detective, after seeing the dental records, drove up in his Crown Vic, jumped out, held his arms out to my mother, and said, "It's Amy." And then he held her while she cried. My greatest fear had come true. Thank you.